We're joined now by our Patriots insider, Jeff Howe from The Athletic Boston, who is in Cincinnati, saw this one firsthand. What's your biggest takeaway from this one? I would say for me, it's offense kind of gets on track, but the defense once again leads the way.
Well, I'm going to go in a sort of different direction. I'm going to take what N'Keal Harry did and use that as a sign of Josh McDaniels trying to find what works and kind of pushing that forward into the bigger picture. Now, N'Keal Harry had 2 catches for 15 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 carries early in the game. Played 37 snaps after just 2 in the loss to Kansas City. McDaniels said early this week that he needs to get Harry more involved, and he did. So what, again, I'm taking away here is McDaniels is saying, all right, this is an imperfect offense, which you saw again in the first half. You know, Brady was getting sacked. He got sacked a couple times, got hit 6 times. But the big picture, the Patriots need to figure out what they do well, and they need to figure out how to bank their offense on that when January comes around. They have 2 more trial runs, so taking a smaller situation like N'Keal Harry's involvement and kind of blowing it up is saying, all right, McDaniels sees that they can do things well with Harry. Now can they do it well with, you know, running the ball or protecting Tom Brady or the red zone offense? So again, I'm seeing a team that is willing to adapt and adjust on the fly at a very crucial moment of the year.
Each matchup is different, but should we read into the fact that Dorsett and Meyers were basically invisible today?
I think you kind of build off of that. I mean, neither one of those guys has been overly productive, at least consistently over the last couple weeks. Now, Dorsett was coming off of that flu bug that would hit him pretty hard. Had a couple injuries earlier in the year, but I think part of getting Harry involved, you got to take the snaps away from somebody. You thought that if he was going to jump up the depth chart, it would be in replacement of Jakobi Meyers. Now, Meyers, he dropped that ball in the end zone last week in the 4th quarter. Brady never looked his way again, even when he was open on that final 4th down failure in the red zone. Surpassing Phillip Dorsett is fairly surprising, but you know, Dorsett has basically been a possession receiver, and when he's going and he's at his best, he's been extremely valuable to what this offense can do. But this offense right now needs more than just a possession guy. They need a big play guy. They need somebody who can, you know, take a few yards and then turn it into something a whole lot greater. You even saw on that false start play that was called back and really never got started, I guess, that diving catch down the right sideline from Harry. He's capable of those special moments. Even if he's not consistently on the same page as Tom Brady, he can make those pop plays. You saw it time and again in training camp. You saw it a couple times in the preseason before he went down, and you're continuing to see flashes of it now that he's back in the regular season.
So how much do they need out of Sony Michel? Because we saw him ramp up towards the end of the regular season last year, and that obviously continued in the playoffs. Do you get the sense we're going to see that again here with today's game, and then we have Buffalo and Miami, and just get him some confidence? Because 89 yards for a guy who's had a really tough season has to be encouraging.
Well, you know, I'm a generally optimistic guy, you know, when it comes to a lot of different things, and Sony Michel having a good game is great, but you take it with a grain of salt because this was the Bengals, and these guys are 1-13 for a reason. I mean, they're terrible. They're going to have the #1 pick in the draft. So, yeah, it was nice to get him going, and confidence is important. And if they can get Sony Michel running at a comparable pace to last year in January when they were the toughest team in the tournament, then yeah, that'd be outstanding. I'm just not sure I totally buy that they solved all their run issues up to this point in Cincinnati because of the caliber of the opponent. The big thing that I would look for here is, yeah, if you can get Michel going, great. But if you can't, if you run into, let's say, Kansas City or Baltimore, not Baltimore, but if you get Kansas City or Houston in that divisional round game to open up the playoffs, and Michel starts to struggle, you got to have a quick hook. Because Rex Burkhead is running the ball really well since coming back from injury. James White has been absolutely dynamic when he's been given the opportunity over the last 3 weeks. So it would be great to get Michel going, no question about it. That'd be huge for them in the playoffs. But if he's not, you can't keep beating your head against the wall. You got to find guys who can get the offense a little more sustainable.
Let's hit on the defense, and I'll just tee you up this way, because I think what you saw was fantastic pass defense, and Stephon Gilmore is just otherworldly. But Mixon's good, but should we be concerned about whether or not down the stretch this defense is going to be able to stop the run?
Yeah, because that's been a problem for a good chunk of the season. And the Bengals were using some of those zone read concepts, But the Patriots knew that Andy Dalton was not going to keep any of those balls and try to, run off the wing there or off tackle. This was going to Mixon or Bernard or whoever was in the backfield with Dalton. And there were chunks of the game when they were really vulnerable, especially early in the game. I think the Bengals started off with 8 consecutive runs for 67 yards before that touchdown pass. So it's in order to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to beat Baltimore. And Baltimore's rushing attack is a whole lot better than what we saw out of the Bengals today. Going into this game, the Bengals were ranked 5th worst in the league in rushing yards per game, 8th worst in the league in yards per carry. So this was not, I know Mixon's a good player and everything, but this is not like an elite rushing operation that was still able to have success against the Patriots defense. As for Gilmore, I mean, this guy is going to be in the conversation, has been in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Problem is a cornerback has not won Defensive Player of the Year in a decade. There's only been 2 in the last 25 years. The voters like sacks, they like a lot of pass rush production. I'm not sure if Gilmore is going to be able to edge out a guy like Bosa out west.
We only get a chance to chat with you once a week. At this point last week, we didn't know anything about this Spygate 2.0. We learned a lot more today because Jay Glazer shared the video that was given to him by somebody on the Bengals staff, we assume. What's your take of what's transpired over the last week?
Yeah, you bet that came from the Bengals staff. That's a video. It's been bizarre. It's been a bizarre story. The Bengals have been ticked off. They've been ticked off behind the scenes, but they're so afraid of the NFL and what they could do, so they've been publicly quiet about it. The Patriots are livid. Bill Belichick's livid. He has really, when he found out about it Monday, he was apoplectic. And the fact that, these accusations were coming down on football operations was an extreme annoyance for him and, again, the football department, the questions that were hitting them. This was something that was solely a series of mistakes from the production side of the franchise. And again, it's kind of creeped over. It's been, I wouldn't say it's been a distraction. It's not like Deflategate a few years ago when the locker room looked at that as a personal attack on Tom Brady. This has been more noise than anything else, but we know the Patriots can rally around any sort of rallying cry. They can take anything and blow it up into something personal. So something like this could only really galvanize them going down the stretch. On top of the 2-game losing streak coming into Cincinnati, on top of the questions about how good this team really realistically is going into the playoffs, having lost to the other 3 AFC division leaders. So it's just one more of those things that they're going to be able to hang their hat on as a motivational tactic going into January.
Good stuff. Thanks, Jeff. As always, we appreciate the insight. You can follow Jeff at The Athletic Boston. He's, of course, going to get to work right now, writing his post-game column, and we'll talk to you after next week's game against the Bills. Thanks a lot.